So Dale, the director of the float pool, is a new role for you, and I know you've been up in the ICU as great nurse, which I can attest to. You did an incredible job taking care of my own husband, so thank you for that.
It's my pleasure.
You are an absolute phenomenal nurse.
Okay.
And a phenomenal director for the float pool. But tell our audience today, what is a float pool?
Well, the float pool is a group of RNs, nurses assistants, and patient companions that are available to work out in the organization anytime there are gaps of care that are needed for, in the case of the RNs and nurse assistants, and then with patient companions as we need one-on-one care with the individual patients, if they need somebody there to be with them and assure their safety and well-being, then they'll go into that. So
would that be something, for instance, if somebody was high risk for falls?
Absolutely.
Might be, yeah. Okay.
So
groggy from their meds, or just dementia or some such thing where they
Right.
might not remember to press that call button and ask for assistance.
Right,
Yeah.
right. They may not be able to articulate what they need. We know when people get thirsty or hungry, or they've got to go to the restroom, or they get hot or they get cold, and they get fidgety, and if somebody's there sort of to help remind them and keep them occupied, you know, maybe find something they're interested in, TV or read or so forth, that the risk of them falling is greatly diminished. So.
Which is exactly what we always want. We don't want any of our patients hurt.
So that's not new for BRMC,
Right.
but is something we're going to expand. Has been moved under the float pool.
So with the float pool itself, the RNs, now this would then be, for instance, somebody calls in with the flu, can't make it, and of course we don't want them there spreading the flu if
Right.
they have it. So that would be when your department would come into play, and you'd have someone that could go to whatever floor where help was needed.
Right. So it could be somebody's sick, there could be somebody's on vacation. One of the great things about nursing as an avocation is that you do have the opportunity to move around and work in different areas. When that happens, we don't always have somebody right immediately to take up that position, and here's where the float pool can come in and pick up those gaps and assure continuity of care and high quality care out on the different units in the organization.
Do the float pool staff then, do they go through a different kind of training?
Well, they do. They go. So they'll be orientated to all the units throughout the hospital, and it's real important that they will get a well-grounded orientation to each of the units that they would, whether it's ER, the ICU in the case of taking some of the folks that are transitioning out of ICU, the step down, orthopedics, post-surgical, so forth. We want them to be totally confident and competent when they go and they go out on the floor, that they feel good about being there, and the staff that they're going in to help are happy to see them come and feel confident that they're getting a partner in delivering care out on the floor.
Right.
And so.
Yeah, because I think sometimes I've heard from other hospitals, if they didn't do a really good job of making sure that the competencies were there, that the nurses were not necessarily looking at the person coming to help them as being helpful. So.
Right, and I was fortunate enough when I first came to BRMC about 5 years ago. I worked with the float nurses. I spent a year working on the step down unit, and you know, it was a great group of people to work with, and we were always very happy to see them come, because we knew they were going to come share the load and make our shift go smoother,
and great.
So you get an increase in quality, patient satisfaction, also staff satisfaction, which of course leads to retention of the staff, which is extremely important.
And just really good outcomes all the way around,
Right,
and experience. You know, no one wants to be in the hospital, but when it's necessary that they are, all of those things make such a huge difference in the patient's life. And of course, we want to take care of our staff.
Right, exactly right. So you're right on the orientation. We want them to be good and strong and out there, and then they can function. It's sort of a SWAT team that can go anywhere.
I like that. That's
shift.
cute. Yeah, yeah. We'll have to come up with. We've got the acronym. We just have to figure out what the words mean now. So.
right.
So, what would a float nurse? What would they need to have for qualifications for an RN?
Well, we prefer 2 to 3
for?
years of experience. It's we will look at a couple of residents, nurse residents, which is a different subject. But in order to have the confidence to go into that situation, you really need the baseline of experience. So we prefer to see 2 to 3 years anyway of clinical experience that we can build on through the 25 days or shifts that we do the orientation throughout the organization. So experienced nurses.
Absolutely. And how is our float pool coming along? I know this is you're building it from the ground up, so to speak, and how's that going?
Well, I'm an interviewing machine right now. We've done a lot of interviews.
Yeah.
But we still definitely have room if folks are interested, both on the nights and day shifts. We're offering 12 and 8-hour shifts. The 8 hours more targeted towards people who want sort of PRN as needed shifts, maybe not full time. And there is a signing bonus for RNs and nurses aides both. So we're in the building phase. It's going to take a while. There's a limited pool of folks, but we just want the best. So,
absolutely, absolutely, and it does. To get the best, it's absolutely a process to go through. Yeah, and I know that you're enjoying it tremendously. I think you've got a real passion for this.
I do. I love my job. Always have. And BRMC is a great place to work. I've really enjoyed my time here.
It's a good hospital.
It is. I've been working in
folks.
hospitals since 1978. It's right up there at the top as far as any that I've been associated with.
That's wonderful, because I'm sure that they were perhaps larger cities that you were in, and
much bigger and much smaller.
Yeah, no, really, with the smaller ones would be interesting too to be in. Because you probably have a more diverse day.
Right.
Yeah, it's not going to be just in this one specific area. It's going to be probably covering a multitude of things.
Right. It's a lot like float. I mean, you have to be able to work in a variety of areas, one right after another, and be comfortable with your ability to do that.
And so you mentioned that you've got the flexible shifts, which I think is a great idea. As you said, 8-hour shift would be wonderful for people that just don't want to do the 12 hours. So
12 hours is a long shift.
It's a long day.
When they came in, I was working in ICUs when we went from 8 to 12-hour shifts, and I was in my mid 20s, and I remember the transition was tough. I can tell you, approaching my mid 50s now, it's 12-hour shifts they're long shifts, and so this gives an option for somebody who's still got skills and something that they want to give to the art of nursing, some options to come in and help.
That's a great, I think this is one of the best ideas that you've had, that the hospital has promoted in a long time, as far as having the shorter shift. Makes sense. Let the 20 and 30-year-olds that want to get out there and hard charging and can do this, stand on their feet all day and just stay incredibly alert. But some of us, as we age, want that little bit less of a pace going on. So, how can they apply for this?
Well, online through the BRMC website, they can go online, and there's a lot of openings that are posted. But so you would look for either the day or evening or night position that you're looking for and apply, and we'll sort them out and get them screened. I try and call people back as soon as I get the application and get through the interview process and see how they would fit best. And if not float, I mean, we have a lot of other openings available for nurses throughout the organization, and the signing bonus applies to all those. But then the nursing directors are real good about working together to try and match up the candidates, whether they're nurses or nurse assistants, to the right place.
Right. I know that's a key all the way through the hospital, which just makes the most sense. Someone's going to stay if they're happy with what they're doing, because they love what they're doing, because they've been matched up correctly with their skill sets. So, and I know they even do that for the volunteers.
Is that right?
Yeah, we've got over 500 active volunteers right now at the hospital, which we need. We love the fact that our volunteers are so generous with their time each day, and that's one of the main reasons they stay, because they go through quite an extensive screening to find out what is it they really want to do, and by matching them correctly with something they really enjoy, they're ready to stay. So it makes sense all the way through the organization to do that.
Yeah, it's a fabulous group. All my interactions with the volunteers have just been extremely positive.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
it's a great group.
We call them our yellow shirt army, and
Right.
that's a Clark Fletcher phrase. I want to give credit where credit is due. So, so on the float pool, if we can kind of expand on that just a little bit, what are your goals for getting into next year?
Well, right now, for RNs, we want to have 4 per shift, or 24 hours a day, 4 RNs, and 3 nurse assistants per shift right now, and then 3 patient companions right now. So that's where we'll start. And we're keeping a log to look at the patient companion needs, and then we'll adjust as we go forward. So to make sure that we have that flexibility. And people that if they need time off, then that the directors out on the units know that we're going to be able to fill those gaps with quality people.
Right, which is going to make them feel so much better and not pull their hair out and like, oh my gosh, what are we going to do when somebody calls off at the last minute? And of course, it's going to happen.
Right.
So, it's especially as we enter our flu season. So, Dale, we need to take a short break. Don't go away. We'll be right back with BRMC's Healthy Connections.